Hello and welcome to Talking Good Game. It's just finished. Spurs 1, West Ham United 1 with two absolute worldies at Wembley. Gonzo, and we're going to go through the highlights. Half-time 0-0. What did you
Absolutely.
make of that first half?
Atrocious, really, really terrible. I guess he got what he wanted. Obviously, the team had some absentees. The bench looked really, really weak, didn't it? We were missing Cresswell, we were missing Arnautovic. Because of that, I don't think we could quite have the transition to the forward. I've not just Chicharito, who really struggled up front on his own. Lanzini tried to get close to him, but it was back to the walls really, and we didn't obviously have a shot. And I think at half time, possibly we had 23% of the possession, so pretty dire stuff at that point.
Gonzo, were you relieved to get in at 0-0, or were you sort of quite comfortable that Spurs didn't really test us that much?
I wasn't that comfortable, and I felt really uncomfortable. I remember looking at it 24 minutes and thinking, this is going to be a long night. But actually, once we did get in at half time, I thought, do you know what? Look, that's not a stadium filler, not selling any season tickets off the back of football like that. But I did think, actually, this is obviously what Moyes wants. He's halfway to it working for him. Was I confident? No, but I could see Tottenham getting pissed off and frustrated. And any time that happens is a good thing, you know.
Tom, at half-time 0-0, Moyes parked the bus from the off, but it was working. Were you happy or disappointed or frustrated? What were you at half-time?
No, is that the same as Gonzo? Really, it was pretty bad. I actually tweeted out. I said we actually can have a corner, a shot on target, a shot off target, anything really. 80% position, I think, for Spurs. It was pretty there's parking the bus, as they said, and then there's David Moyes parking the bus. Christ almighty, he had a fleet of coaches. I think it was that bad. But no, at the end of the day, he had a game plan, 0-0 half time. Yeah, and it worked really, didn't it? Right? It was really, really great defensive display first half and into the second half as well.
Well, let's talk about our first player we're going to talk about. We'll talk about him now. And that was just before the hour mark. He came off on 63 minutes, Hernandez, but just before that, Sanchez gave him the ball. He was all alone. He didn't quite make the edge of the box and stuff. Tom, what did you make of his performance tonight? Is it harsh to sort of even remotely judge him given the tactics, or can we judge him in terms of his control and etc.?
I think it's a bit of both, Joe. But you can't really judge the man, obviously, because he's playing up top by himself. You know, it's not the way he's obviously Moyes is set out to get a point. It's quite simple. You know, maybe Nick could win, but he's definitely set out for the point. And it's a bit hard to judge Hernandez really. But you are when he does get a chance like that, that is what you want. And at half time, I was screaming to myself, they're playing such a high line, Tottenham. All we need to do is put the ball in behind them. And I think Hernandez will get in. And the one chance, as you just mentioned, he did get. Unfortunately, he got caught. And it wasn't good. But no, yeah, you can't really lay anything into Hernandez's performance today, really.
What do you think, Gonzo? Has he had a harsh game to sort of get his start for?
Well, he's had a harsh game and he's had a poor game. So they're both. He was poor, but I understand why he was poor. That chance we went through, he's just not quite quick enough anymore. If he ever was. They got some athletes as well, Tottenham, so they were always going to catch him. In many respects, when he plays this way, Moyes, Antonio is actually the perfect guy in our squad for it. And you really need a lot of pace and power on the outlet. We didn't have that. So I felt for him a little bit. And yeah, his touch let him down. He couldn't quite retain the ball to hold it up. He didn't have much support actually either. So he had what he had to do. He had to do that on his own. And wasn't within his abilities to do it because he's a poacher.
Yeah, I don't think the tactics were to suit Hernandez tonight, but I don't think David Moyes had the players to suit the tactics he wanted to play either. So it was a case of you're just going to have to do there. But I thought the first half, so the first 25 minutes or so, I thought his first touch was awful. Every time they gave him the ball and they were trying to push up, his first touch was pinging 5 yards away a little bit. And I thought, bloody hell. I thought, I wasn't expecting to do much. I was hoping he'd hold the ball up. He was a bit of boy cry wolf a little bit with some of his fouls. He was going down really easily, even when it was quite an okay tackle. But saying that, I do think he had a lot to do tonight. He was never going to do that well. But unfortunately for him, Andre Ayew come on and did, in my opinion, a lot better than Hernandez on that short space of times. But, Tom, 70 minutes, we had our first shot at goal. And what a fucking shot it was. Were you expecting that? I mean, have you seen a better goal this season?
No, mate. Well, you can argue his Son's better, but for me, no. No, mate. Yeah, that I'll tell you what, I was going nuts, mate. A first shot at goal, and what a rocket! It's one of them ones that no goalie's going to save. It's just an absolute world class strike, absolute rocket. Right into that top left hand corner, beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Gonzo, what about yourself? What was your take on that? I mean, Obiang's come in for a bit of criticism, but just that moment, I wouldn't say he's answered his critics, but you sort of think, nice one, son, you needed that. No one was taking a shot. He had a bit of space, and he took it, and fucking hell.
We're all delighted. We're all delighted. Forget the bigger picture of the midfield not working generally. It was great. He's a nice guy as well. I screamed. I actually screamed. The missus was asleep on the sofa. Funny enough, it would be all the 70 minutes of football before that had sent her to sleep. Yeah, I screamed. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was, to go from that bored and pissed off and sort of hoping to get something, to be elated, to be winning against Tottenham at that point again. And you just know it's really going to piss their fans off. Pochettino looks agitated. What's his name? Dele Alli, who's got that face, he was, I was brilliant. At that point, it was absolutely brilliant.
Tom, not long after Chiatti had a chance at the back post, but he didn't quite connect with it. Is this a chance when you're playing, well, any side really, but it's more so against the top six, when you get a chance like that, you have to take it or you'll get punished? Yep,
totally agree, Joe. If you're going to pick any sort of player today that had a poor game, for me personally, it was Kurt again. Yeah, you're right. When you do get that chance, you got to, you're right. 2-0 up, it's game over then, isn't it? What was that? 80 minutes was it? Just before? Like 80 minutes? Yeah, there's no coming back for Tottenham, or shouldn't be. You got to take them chances, unfortunately. But today, I don't know what Chiatti offered the team. Really, I thought we started. I just think he runs around just smiling all the time. To be honest with you, I don't know what he brings to the team anymore.
Well, getting his head stuck in Adrian's gloves. And then you see that photo. Gonzo, 83 minutes though. Maybe not as good as Obiang's, but a fantastic strike in its own right. Son with an absolute screamer. However, let's rewind a little bit. The tackle that went in just before that, that's a talking point. Lanzini had the ball. Aurier went in on him. Is this a foul for you? Is this 2-footed tackle? I mean, he wins the ball, but he goes in with 2 feet.
Yeah, there's that big thing. There's two things that people often get wrong about the rules. Number one, they say about intent. Well, intent don't matter. It's not about that in rules. The other thing is, I've got the ball. I've got the ball. Well, it don't matter if you dived in 2-footed. It doesn't matter if you got the ball. You actually, you got the ball and you got the man. Actually, it was a bit later on where Noble got the yellow cards. Well, you know what? Technically, he got the ball as well, but he dived in 2-footed. It was a yellow card, So it should have been a foul, and also it took Lanzini out, who was probably have allowed, if you watch that goal as it unfolds, Noble, just before he was going to close him down, he turns around possibly to Masuaku or Rice and actually points to him and says, you need to be over there. Then he looks, then he goes to close down, realizes he's not going to close the distance, and turns his back, which he shouldn't have turned his back, and he perhaps should have run to him a little bit earlier than that. But I don't think he's in that position if Lanzini would have been putting pressure on Son at that point. But it was a magnificent strike. We can't just praise Obiang's and then blame Son's goal on a defensive mishap. It was a very, very good goal, but not as good as Obiang's, of course.
Was that foul for you, Phil Gons? I know you're saying there's an inconsistency with Noble. Are you saying they're both yellow cards, or they're actually both legit challenges?
Well, they both got the ball, but they also were both dangerous challenges, so that they're both fouls, whether they're yellow cards or not. It doesn't matter. They're fouls, and therefore it's a free kick.
What about yourself, Tom? What was your take on that tackle? Was that free kick for you, or is it a sort of a...
Yeah, I'm not just saying it, G, obviously, because it's West. They end up... It was a foul, and if it happened the other way around, if the roles were reversed and we would have scored, I'd have said, well, yeah, unfortunately we scored, but it was a foul, and you get away with them. Sometimes referees give them, sometimes they don't. And they mentioned in game about the VAR system and that goal understood, because they would have we would have viewed it and it gone back, and then we said no, it is a foul, and it would have gone back. But it's one of them ones. If it happens against you, obviously you're going to be aggrieved that it happened, and then if you actually get the result, then you're going to be happy with it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Full time it finished 1-1. Tom, well, you must be happy with the point, are you? I mean, given the performance, etc., and our availability of players, were you delighted to take a point from tonight's game?
Oh, absolutely. If you would offer me a point before the game, I'd have took it, mate. I mean, Tottenham are in some fantastic form at the moment, Yeah, 100%. Massive, huge point for our survival this season. That point, I said before the two games, I said if we can get the game before, obviously we won 2-1 against West Brom. I said if we can get 4 points, I think we'd be okay. I think we'll crack on from that, you know. And I've been one that's been saying all season we're going down, and that is a huge point. Fantastic defensive display, Gio. It really is.
What did you make of the performance as a whole, Tom? We're part of the bus. Did we get off with it a little bit? I mean, Tottenham are fairly throwing the kitchen sink at us for the last 10 minutes or so, but is that just to be expected? And
yeah, I mean, the thing is, Gio, when you know any sort of mistake, if they do get a goal, your whole game plan's down the bin. You know, whatever he's drawn up and got instilled into play, it's down the bin. You know, but you know, really, the shots that Tottenham had, Adrian dealt with quite easy. Really, it wasn't nothing apart. Obviously, their goal, which flew in, is another worldie. Yeah, it wasn't really. Yeah, they had a lot of possession and a lot of shots on and off goal, but it wasn't really a great. You know, it was just a fantastic defensive display, and you have to give Moyes credit. Unfortunately, if you people that don't like him, you have to give him credit. It really is great. It's good what he done.
Gonzo, genius if it works, idiot if it fails. What did you make of that tactics and overall team performance?
Well, two different things. I hate the tactics. I absolutely hate them, but you've got to give him credit. Bearing in mind those were the tactics, the team performance was very good. You talk about Kiate, I say you. We talk about Kiate and Obiang. Actually, our biggest problem is with them is when they're not asked to do what they did tonight. It's when we play Stoke or we play West Brom and they're asked to actually have a little bit more possession and control the game. Actually, you just want to stand and run around and tackle. Then it sort of works. And because you're not asking for anyone to be creative. It's such negative, dull, boring tactics, but it's the tactics we need to drag us out the shit at the moment, unfortunately, particularly when you don't have any players. Moyes will have his own ideas about what players, and yes, the tactics worked. There was a lot of luck involved. There always will be. At the end, Noble did a sliding interception. So did, crikey. Zabaleta, so did Declan Rice. Obiang did one. Reed was at his best game for a little while as well. Adrian was involved. They've all got to play well, and we've got to have some luck for it to work. It worked for him. I'm not complaining. Not complaining at all. I'm not complaining at all.
I almost wish we almost had two managers in a way. When we play the top six, David Moyes is in charge, and when we play the other 13 teams, someone else is in charge. Because then that would almost be the perfect mixture of tactics, if you like. Because whenever we play top six, I'm actually quite confident that Moyes is going to set us up so that we can play well. He gets a little bit of luck with Obiang strike, because he can do that. He can go out there tonight and take that shot another 49 times, and it'll go wide and over the bar. Keeper will save it. It's a one-off strike, that. But saying that, we were really organised tonight. Tottenham had struggled to find space. You could see Eriksen coming all the way back to the halfway line to get the ball and going forward a few strides, looking up, thinking, where am I going to put it? Whenever he did nip it into Ali or Kane, it got booted away from their feet completely. I quite like that, but only against the top six. So for tonight, it's worked really well. And when you consider the squad that Moyes had, not just the players that started, but even the bench, you have very, very little options. But when you have a squad of 22 at the start of the season, which includes Donnell, Henry and McCassie, you don't have a lot of room for injuries, etc. So when they do pile up, like tonight, including our most informed player, you're going to have to just abandon whatever you want to do. I'm sure when all fans, well, I don't know about YouTube, but when I saw that team, I thought, this could be a long night. This could be a hiding tonight. I'm not saying David Moyes thought that, but when David Moyes knew Arnautovic wasn't available, I'm pretty sure David Moyes would have went, what am I meant to do? Fantastic. But Tom, individual performances, pick out anyone you want, praise them or criticise them. You pick what players as well.
Got to give huge credit to Declan Rice. You know, it's not an easy task coming in for a London derby, especially being against Spurs. You know, I thought Declan Rice was fantastic tonight. I thought he was really composed. And what a player we've got there, eh? Lucky that I could take that player. And also huge credit, I mean, because of the defensive display today, it's got to be the defence. But Zabaleta, as we mentioned it before, we mentioned Ogbonna with his challenge against West Brom, which is like scoring a goal. There was a challenge where Zabaleta slid in, same sort of thing in the bot. And I don't know where he come from, but it was what an absolute. So yeah, it was Zabaleta and Rice for me today, Gio.
Gonzo, what about yourself?
What we're doing, looking to spend £25 million on a young centre-back from Swansea when we've got Declan Rice sat there is beyond me. He looked to the manner born today, I've got to say, and he's only going to get better with every game he plays up his 4th Premier League start. Well done to him. Zabaleta, I thought, did well. Tin hat on here. I actually thought Kiate did well to cover Zabaleta a lot. Clearly, at early exchanges, Son had targeted him as well, and he doubled up and helped him out a little bit. Obviously, no good passing, missed that, but he covered it well defensively. Reed, as I said, best game. Ogbonna, the defence was very, very good. And towards the end of the game, when the defence needed a respite, needed a breather, thought in the second half, Masuaku came into it again and did one audacious bit of skill. I don't know how he got through those 2 geezers with that flick. It was absolutely brilliant. So some nice individual defensive displays today.
I don't think Reed played that well, actually. I thought Reed had an iffy game. There's a few errors, especially in the first half. There was one he went sliding in, it somehow bounced over him, and Spurs went away. Then when Tom was talking about Zabaleta, that was on Kane, and Kane spun Reed completely in the box and left him on the floor. And if that had gone in, we would have been on here probably criticising Winston Reed for that. But I thought Ogbonna was brilliant. I thought Rice was brilliant. I thought Zabaleta played well. I thought Mark Noble was absolutely fantastic at winning free kicks tonight. There was at one point he literally jumped into a Spurs player and got a free kick. The Spurs player just stood still, and Noble ran up to him and just jumped into him and lay on the ball. And Mike Dean just had to go, well, it's free kick and just pick the ball up. Absolutely brilliant. Kiati, I don't think was that bad. I'm his biggest critic. I don't think he was that bad. I thought Obiang was neat and tidy in midfield. I think they all played well. I think they all played well. I don't think anyone had a bad game. Adrian, there was one save he made in the first half. It got I think Eriksson took it, hit Ogbonna. What a save, because it's down the middle of the goal. It won't get so much recognition. He is halfway across his goal and he spins all in mid-air almost and tips over the bar. Brilliant save. But Tom, what's your final thoughts on the game? What's your final roundup of the match, etc.?
As I said, I wasn't... Obviously, with Arnautovic obviously missing through injury or resting because he's got a little knock, whatever. We was all fearing the worst for the game, and you have to give Moyes huge credit. It's very, very negative setup as Gonzo said, but the defensive display today is up there, one of the best defensive displays I've seen in a long, long time, And would you have took a point? I think if you asked most Hammers before the game if they took a point, I think 99% of them would have said, "Yeah, give me that point right now." Tottenham are not a rubbish team at all. They're up there contending for the top 4. So, you know what, Gio, absolutely fantastic. There's, as you said, 6 or 7 players today that had a really, really, really good game, and yeah, superb point.
Gonzo.
It's very easy when you're watching football. We're partisan. We're not just watching a game of football. We're feeling it for West Ham. We're desperate for West Ham. But sometimes I think you have to look at it and wonder what the other team are thinking. And I think the other team, Tottenham, would have been hated playing against us. I think they would have been looking at it. And once it got past a certain time, maybe half an hour, I think they were thinking to themselves, we're not going to score here. We're not going to get through these guys. And as painful sometimes as the tactics are for us to watch, particularly when we don't have any possession and we don't have any shots and all the rest of it, it's frustrating for them thinking there's just a brick wall up here. And I reckon we were just nasty. For too long, I'm not saying I want it to continue forever, for too long, we were everybody's second favourite team. It was good old West Ham. We'd roll over and have our bellies tickled and all the rest of it. And I thought today we were a pain in the arse, and I'm pleased to be a pain in the arse for Tottenham. It stopped them going top 4, which is bloody good for me. And it took us up a couple of places as well, which was our game in hand. And now we've got a better run. Oh, do I want to see this forevermore? No, I don't. But actually, I'm quite pleased today.
Yeah, a necessary evil tonight was required, and that's what we got delivered. But the big question for Moyes is what you're going to do in our next league game against Huddersfield, because you can't play that. That's where the big question comes in. But tonight, fantastic. Like you said about Spurs, they'll be frustrated. They'll be pissed off. We were time wasting quite cleverly today as well. That's something we've always been a bit naive with sometimes, where you just don't know how to kill a game. We know how to kill a game under Moyes. Even Carroll just coming on, just boot the ball in the crowd. He knew he was going to get a booking for it. Kiati then got the ball. He knew he was offside, but he knew that the free kick hadn't been taken, but he still kept dribbling with it because he knew he was just going to waste a few valuable seconds and just piss everyone off. And that's what was required tonight. I thought we kept the world-class striker quiet, and it took them a world-class strike in order to get an equaliser. And that is a massive credit. Just those 2 points are a massive credit. But final question, as always, Gonzo. Who is your man of the match for tonight?
I think this is a tough one. I think this is a tough one. This is the toughest one I've had. And I think the heartstrings are Obiang and Declan Rice, but I'm going to give it to Zabaleta today.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm not just saying it because Gonzo said it. I was going to say Zabaleta for me, or Rice. It's I think you could pick 6 or 7 players, Joe. You know, you've got. It's such an hard one to give. If you can give a, yeah, I mean, you can't give a. It's such a good team performance. No, it's going to be Zabaleta for me. That challenge was as good as a goal.
I'm going to go with your second choice, you two, and that's our 18-year-old Declan Rice. There was a chance in the very first half, 4 minutes in or something, Kane hooked it past into our 6-yarder and Rice booted it over the bar. If that had gone in somehow, or Ali had got there first, that's a different game altogether. That's 4 minutes in, we got a goal down, and everything just goes out the window. So Declan Rice is my man of match. But anyway, you guys at home, let us know who your man of match is. You can do that in the comments below, or come on to our forum at hammerschat.com and let us know. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new. We'll be back tomorrow night, Friday, which is a preview of the FA Cup game against Shrewsbury, where David Moyes might only be fielding 2 senior players in Andre Ayew and Joe Hart. But we'll be back to discuss that. Hopefully you can join us then, and we'll catch you soon.